Let's see. Jacob, what's happening? Good to see everybody. Thanks for being here. Thanks for joining me tonight. Another night outside. It's just a beautiful night. Um, so it's good to be outside, relaxing. Hope you've had a fantastic day. All right, tonight we're going to be talking about intentional greatness and continuing on our talks about nevertheless. We've been talking about how to shift our life from a lesser place to a greater place. And Travis, thanks so much. I'm glad that you are here. It's always a pleasure to take these moments together. Leela, good to see you. Glad that you're here. And so we're going to talk about intentional greatness. Um, Yesterday, I shared about the tragedy that happened in our area. And today, we're going to build off of, all right, what do we do about it when tragic moments happen, when things are happening in life? How do we address that? And I think, and I believe wholeheartedly that intentional greatness is the answer. And so let me just say hi to a few more people. Mary, good to see you. Ghostly Beastly, good to see you. Tiano, good to see you. Desiree, good to see you. Good to see everybody checking in. Mill Sam's, good to see you. Michelle, good to see you. So, what does intentional greatness look like? Well, first, let's establish what greatness is. Greatness is the product of service. In order to be great, we must serve. That is the baseline for where all greatness comes from. If you are going to be great in life, then it is a matter of service. That means you are deciding that something that you have to give is going to be given. You are going to be unselfish with some aspect of your life, with some of your talent, with some ability, with some gift, with some knowledge, with some insight, with something that you have to give. You are going to be unselfish with it and you're going to give it. You're going to serve it. You're going to allow somebody else to benefit from what is in you. And so greatness, intentional greatness means I'm really going to think through this. I'm really going to strategize this, and I'm going to make a way to get what is in me out to the world. Let me see what's going on with this connection. Someone said it's a bad connection. And so that's typically not the case in this spot, but hopefully it'll get connected. So we're looking at intentional greatness. Last night I shared how the young boy in my community that was 11 years old had been murdered by his mother. And the story is coming out, and I haven't been really given too much attention to it, to read it and taking it all in. I understand what happened, right? Bottom line is there was someone with a great level of despair and someone else got murdered. It was her child. Families have been affected. Things are going on. People feel angry. People feel upset. People are confused. How could this possibly happen? And so why it all happened, we may never know. And that's a part of life. Sometimes things are going to happen in life and we won't really understand why. We won't understand all the whys of why things take place. And that's not really most important when it comes down to you being intentionally great. See, here's the thing. We identified yesterday that once we identify a cause, once we have a reason to take action, that's enough. You don't have to know all the details. Sometimes you can just know there is a reason, there is a cause. And I shared how in the Bible there's that fight with David and Goliath. And before David went to go fight Goliath, he said, "Is there not cause? Is there not reason enough for me to step up, take what I have, and go to battle in this situation? Is there not reason enough for me to fight?" And perhaps the fight is for your family. Perhaps the fight is for your community. Perhaps the fight is for your romance, your love life. Perhaps the fight is for your mental well being, your health, your wellness, whatever it may be. There is a fight that is a cause that is calling you to get into action. Now, whether or not you decide that you actually are going to do something about it, that's all up to you. But if you are going to do something about it, you might as well be intentionally great. You don't have to worry about being accidentally great. Go ahead and understand that you have something to give, you have something to offer, and you can be intentionally great. What does that mean? That means that you can actually begin to strategize, think through, envision, dream of the impact that you get to make in a situation because you have something to give. I know someone might have told you that you were nothing. Someone might have told you that your idea was no good. Many someone's, you might have even told yourself that you didn't have anything to give. But tonight, I'm here to just correct you. You do have something to give. You have talent, you have ability, you have a gift within you, you have treasure within your earthen body to give and deliver into the world. And someone needs you to show up. Someone needs what you have. The most weird, the most odd, the most strange thing, the thing that you might think is just really nothing, someone needs you. And I think when we begin to realize that we have something to give, and when we begin showing up with our something, it makes a big impact. I was thinking of, actually, I was looking at my phone earlier today, and I got this message from Facebook that talked about a post that I had made, I don't know, 7, 8, like 9, 10 years ago, right? And it talked about this very thing. You have something to give. And on this particular day, I talked about how in the Bible there was a young boy that had a simple lunch. He had a few fish, a few loaves of bread, and that's what he had. He had a lunch, right, to feed himself. But in this situation, the young boy, he comes across Jesus and his disciples, and there's a multitude of people that need to be fed. And in this situation, in this story, Jesus is talking, and he ends up getting this young boy's lunch. And what he does is he begins to take the young boy's lunch, he prays for it, he blesses it, and then it begins to multiply. Now, whether or not you believe it, that's not what we're going to debate about. We're going to talk about right now how you can take the simple thing and begin to multiply the simple thing to have an intentional impact. See, I'm not one of those people that's going to sit and argue and debate with people about whether the Bible is real and all that. I don't believe it. Hey, I'm not even going to do that. But can you take the lesson? Can you get the concept? Can you understand the idea that the simple thing, the thing that you may think is not that much, can be multiplied into something greater to serve a greater good? Can you believe that you have something in your life that can actually touch and impact someone else's life for the good? You might think all I do is draw. All I do is sing. All I do is play the guitar. All I do is watch kids. All I do is walk dogs. All I do is whatever it is that you do. You might think all I do is. I used to think that. I used to think that for a long time. There were times that I would really struggle in life. I mean, to the point of being like depressed, crying, really just like, why am I even here? All I do is talk. Right? Okay, I can talk. Big deal, right? Most people can talk. A lot of people can talk. All I do is talk. Like, there was a time in my life that I had that kind of mindset. All I do is talk. Until I started to learn through serving my gift that it's not an all I do gift. Your thing, whatever you have to give, is not a all I do kind of gift. You might think all I do is make cookies. Well, let me just tell you, the other night I went to Crumble Cookies, and I was so glad that someone made cookies. It was my first time there. It was my first time having a crumble cookie. And so I went in, and it smelled great. They were in there. They were doing their thing with the cookies. They bring them out all nice and warm and all that good stuff. I was glad that somebody came up with a recipe. Somebody decided to have a crumble cookie store, right? I was glad for somebody thinking that what they had to give was enough because the cookie was delicious. When I used to think all I do is talk, that didn't encourage me, or that didn't build me up to want to go out and speak. But I was in an environment where I didn't really understand and see the magnitude of my gift. Now, here's the strange thing. I come from a family of speakers. I mean, you could throw a rock in my family, and they're probably a speaker, a preacher, a pastor, a minister, a teacher. I come from a family of speakers, and yet I thought all I do is talk. And meanwhile, words change the entire world. I started to realize after a while that it is through words that we can take an idea, a concept, something that is living within ourselves, and make a deposit into someone else. It is through a word that I can share something that is in me and make a deposit in you. See, I believe wholeheartedly that you have a gift, a talent, treasure within you. I believe that. And when I articulate that to you, it leaves from my being and it is deposited into your being. Now, whether or not you decide that you are going to cultivate that seed of life or just let it fall and be dormant, totally up to you. But I believe that. I believe that you have greatness. And if you would take this idea that you could be intentionally great, meaning that you can intentionally serve someone, that you can intentionally do something in the world to make an intentional impact because you are looking for an intentional and an expected outcome, your life would look a lot different. I think about how someone decided to make this chair that I'm sitting in right now intentional impact. What is the thing that is inside of you that if you really decided you were going to do something with it, that you could make an intentional impact in the world? As my community is hurting with the loss of this young boy's life, as people are like going through all the emotion of it, the shock, the unbelief, the anger, the disappointment, the all that's happening right now because this young boy was murdered. And it's got me thinking. See, this is one of the most powerful statements that you can make. One of the most powerful statements that you can make was, I was thinking. And so I've been thinking. I was thinking prior to this, but this situation has turned up the flame. It's turned up the heat. I've been thinking more and more about young people and our families and our communities and what needs to happen. Mental health and wellness. How can, as it's starting to get warm here at the farm, I'm like, how can I use this ranch to make a bigger impact from now on? I started getting some messages from people in the community, and they were saying, "Hey, one person told me I'm single mom. Like, I know what it's like to struggle, right?" And she was just talking to me, and she said, "But if there's anything that can be done, let me know. I'm in. I want to do something." See, I began thinking, then I began talking, and then people began talking back. See, this is how this works. When we begin talking, that we start thinking, and then we begin talking, and then we begin doing, and then things begin changing. The change that I know that there is a change that can happen in the world. I know when you look at your talent, when you look at your gift, when you look at the ability for you to make impact, I know you think about the fact that something in this world can be made different if you would show up. Don't pass that by. Don't overlook that. That's a real thing. That's your invitation into the world to make an impact. This is not the time for you to talk yourself out of your greatness. This is not the time for you to say, well, no, I'm too old. No, I'm too young. No, I'm too this, I'm too that. No, this is not the time for that. This is the time for you to show up. This is the time for you to begin to stretch beyond where you've been to say, this is my time. I have been born. I've been in this moment. I've been assigned to this moment because there's something in me to give. And yeah, your dream, your idea, your vision, your quirkiness, all of that matters. This is not the time for you to downplay what makes you different. No, this is the time for you to recognize what makes you different and begin cultivating it and begin to build it and begin to make it greater and begin to make it grander and begin to make it stand out even more. Because someone needs you just as you are. They don't need you trying to be somebody else. Of all the people that I know that I've looked at that are speakers and trainers and coaches, and they do motivational speakers and inspirational speaking and all that good stuff, they're pastors, they're teachers and all that good stuff, they're not like me. they I don't know, I haven't seen somebody like me. I think about it, I'm like, okay, what about you? I'm like, I start running down everything that I know about myself that makes me a little bit different, makes me a lot different. My history, my past, things that I've been through, all of my whole experience has met me in the possibilities of this moment. And the same thing applies for you. every experience that you have in life has met you right here and has met all the possibilities that are now available to you. I think about how I can impact someone's life through a lesson, using a horse, using an animal, using an egg, using a garden bed. Not a lot of, I don't know other pastors that are doing that. I don't know other teachers that are doing, they're probably doing it. People do it. They're not going to do it like me. I have a different background. I have a background being an athlete and a business person and an entrepreneur. And so I can bring all these things together. I've been married. I've been divorced. I have twins, right? Like all these things, all of it goes together. I started the farm because my daughter had a dream and she said, Dad, I want to be a vet. Will you buy me a horse? That makes my story different because when she was 5 years old and she said, Dad, will you buy me a horse? I said, yes, I'll buy you a horse when you turn 7. Because, hey, 2 years, that's like an eternity for a child. I thought maybe if this isn't real, she'll go through a phase, it'll be done. She didn't. Before she turned 7, Dad, are you going to still give me that horse? I said, I sure am. When looking for a horse, looking for the smallest horse I could possibly find, and I found one. And I bought him. And he was the gateway into all of this other stuff, all of this other learning. It's all like when you decide to be intentionally great, opportunities are going to open up for you. Doors are going to open up for you because your greatness is going to place such a demand on you that it's going to cause you to keep moving. What does greatness mean? Greatness is a product of service. Greatness, you don't just get to decide to be great. You get to decide, someone else is going to decide that you're great. You know how? Because you've served them. You don't get to just say that you're great. No, that's not how this works. You have to serve your way into greatness. You have to take your talent. You have to give it. You have to be willing to make an impact on someone else's life and get outside of your comfort zone. The people we see on TV, entertainers, actors and actresses, and pilots that they're flying planes and stewardesses and people that are in restaurants, everyone that is doing something is positioning themselves to be great. You might be a bartender. Don't downplay that. Because when you're tending the bar and serving drinks, there's lots of different ways that you could do it. You could do it with an attitude. You could make the moment just terrible for someone. Or you could be so special with your hospitality and the way that you deliver it that person is saying, my life was so impacted by this bartender that I'm gonna go about the rest of my day and I'm going about it on a whole new way, with a whole brand new outlook, with a little pep in my step because this person encouraged me. A woman that I work with, she was sharing with me, she does staging, like home staging. And she was sharing with me how she had staged this woman's home. And I had been talking to her earlier and I had been sharing with everyone earlier that one of the ways, now, and I'll get back to this, but one of the ways that we can help make each other well, help give each other a dose of free medicine is by showing love. And one of the ways we can show love is through a hug. So I was encouraging everyone in my community. I'm like, no, hug someone today. Hug them. And she was like, well, I don't know if anybody's going to be around. But then she told me later on, she said, I had staged this woman's home and nice old lady and staged her home. And as I was getting ready to leave, I hugged her. And she talked about how it impacted this woman's life. Here she is staging someone's home. And before she leaves, she gives the person a hug. Who knows what kind of ripple effect that hug is going to have on that person's life? You can serve. Your greatness can be a matter so simple as a hug. There are people that are great huggers. There are people that, like you hug them and you have been in an embrace because it just feels so wonderful. There are people like that. Their greatness can be found in a hug. Don't minimize whatever it is that you do. You are needed. You are essential. And so if you get it in your mind that you can be intentionally great, understand the world will begin opening up for you. If you've ever thought to yourself, I want things to be different. I want to see my life grow. Here's what you do. Make a decision to be intentionally great. In that story with David and Goliath, David, a shepherd boy, first he's showing up to deliver some food to his family and to the other soldiers. Right. But he decides in a moment when he hears this giant calling out the army, he decides, I'm about to be intentionally great. And so he has a sling and he has a pouch. And he goes and gets 5 smooth stones and he puts it in his pouch and he has his sling. And he begins to rehearse his moments of greatness where he protected his father's flock. And he says, I fought a lion, I fought a bear. I'm about to go fight this giant. Because he had taken steps to be intentionally great, because he had taken steps to be protective of a flock, when he got into that next moment, when the opportunity presented himself for a greater and bigger stage, this stage having all kinds of rewards that go with it, he said, oh, I'm ready for this because I've practiced serving. I've practiced being intentionally great. So when you think about where can you be intentionally great, start looking around right where you are. How can you make an impact and serve right where you are? Start looking around. You may have heard this question before. Who needs you? Right? Sometimes people will say it in a snarky, kind of undermining way. Who needs you? But I would say it to you this way. Who needs you? Who needs you? Who around you needs you? It might be a puppy. It could be a barn full of kittens. It could be a stray cat. It could be who needs you, and the who could be an animal. It could be a person. It could be the environment. Who needs you? See, the thing is, if you start to open your eyes up, you'll see some potential. And if you ask that question, not undermining yourself, but actually believing that you have an answer, your eyes will begin seeking for the problem. Who needs you? Start asking yourself, who needs me? Let me look around. Who needs me? Where can I show up and make a difference? Who needs me? It'll make a world of difference. Because we are designed for that. We are designed to solve problems. We are made and fashioned in such a way that we carry something with us to make an impact. And sometimes, many times, our mental health and wellness can be greatly affected because we think we are insignificant and we think we don't matter. So I want to say this to you. If you've been struggling with your mental health, your mental wellness, I would encourage you to check in with your self-worth. I would encourage you to take a few moments and find out, listen to the conversation you've been having with yourself. Find out if you really see yourself as a person of value. Because when you don't see yourself as a person of value, you're going to have thoughts in your mind that are actually going to destroy the value that is within you. And so now you're going to be at war with yourself because in your mind you're telling yourself you're not valued, but in your whole being there actually is value. Whether or not you recognize it, you have something to give. You're not here on accident. The breath that is within your lungs is just not accidental. No, you have purpose. But if you diminish your own value, your own worth, it is going to crush your wellness. You cannot be mentally well and destroy yourself. We can't be mentally well and devalue ourselves. Those things are in conflict. And we know it only takes a little bit of poison to contaminate. And if you're rehearsing this same conversation of having no value over and over and over again, that's not just a little bit of poison, that's a lot. So I encourage you to begin looking at what you have to give. And you might think, I have nothing. You do. You have something. You have something. It might be a smile. Some people have really amazing smiles. And what you do, you just use it. You use it. You start smiling more often. Share your smile with more people. Be the person that walks into a room and initiates the hello with a smile. You'll change the atmosphere with your presence. My point here is this. You have something inside of you to serve, to give, to share with the world. If you don't recognize it right now, there's something that we need to do. We need to meaning not, cover, meaning conceal it. Discover the gift, the talent, the ability, the something that you can share with someone else. The something that you can share with the world. Discover it. It might be covered up by self-doubt. It might be covered up by shame. It might be covered up by failure in the past. It can be covered up by a lot of things. A situation where someone mistreated you, it can be covered up by a lot of things. But we have to discover it so that it can shine in the world. Someone needs you. So just ask yourself, who needs me? And keep asking and keep looking. And when you find that someone that needs you, that situation that is waiting for you to show up, show up. Don't doubt it. Here's what I know. Because you've been here and we've been together, there's going to be a situation that presents itself for you. And you're going to remember in that moment, like, okay, this must have been the thing that Brian was talking about. There's something. It's something that's going to happen. I promise you it's going to happen. So just be on the lookout for it, right? So it's going to happen. And there may be a part of you that wants to shy away from it, but don't. That's your invitation to be intentionally great. And jump in. Go for it. Because someone needs you. And that someone's going to cross your path. That situation is going to cross your path. So be on the lookout. I'm excited for you to do it. I'm excited for what's about to happen for your life. Thank you for being here. Thank you for allowing me to be in your life. Thank you for crossing my path and encouraging me. For allowing me to be able to have an answer to who needs me. I believe you're here because in part, maybe something that I shared was something that you needed. So now you pay it forward. If you got anything from this, take the little bit and multiply it. This is how it works. It's like the fish and the loaves. There was something that you got, but now for people that I will never reach, people that I'll never know, you can take and you share it. You keep it going. We just pay it forward. We just keep passing. We just keep pouring into someone else's cup. That's what happens. So I'm going to shut it down. You enjoy the rest of your night. Let me pray a brief prayer. Father, thank you for this time, for all your many wonderful blessings. Thank you for each and every person that is here that receives something, and for those that have now turned it around and they're going to give something. Thank you for the moments of life that we have had together, this opportunity to be with one another. I thank you because this is yet another day for us to rejoice and be glad in that you've made for us. And so we're thankful and grateful for this opportunity. I pray for each and every person that they would really look at themselves and look at their lives and think about and consider the treasure that is within them, that they wouldn't doubt it, that they would know that they have something to give, and then that they would be so bold and so brave as to search for, look for, be aware of the situations that are around them where they can jump in and make an impact. And I pray that when they show up and they make an impact, that things happen, that things change, not only within them, but in that environment. I pray that they would be the person carrying the answer that makes a difference. And I pray that they would be blessed for that. I pray that they would be blessed for their unselfish giving of the gift that is within them. I pray that they would be blessed financially and spiritually and relationally and holistically. Just bless every part of their life. I pray that as they sow seed, you would even return back into their life many times over blessings into them. Seed is given to the sower. So I pray that they would sow abundant seeds and then receive back into their life abundant blessings. Thank you for these things. And I pray that you would encamp angels around us as we go our separate ways, protecting us from harm and danger, whether we can see it or not. I just pray for protection around each one, those that are here live, those that are a part of Team Replay. I just pray for angels of protection all around. We thank you in advance for these things. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, everybody. It's always wonderful to be with you. Thanks for being here this evening. Have a fantastic rest of your night. I'm B.A. Shepherd, 2Ps ARD, reminding you to be a shepherd. The world has enough sheep. Love you much. See ya.